राम में रम कर देखो, सब देखोगे अंतर मन में राम को क्षण भर देखो, सब में राम ही राम समाए, सब में राम ही राम समाए। सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Together we'll chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verses 18 to 27.
ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्ताः, मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसाः, जघन्यगुणवृत्तिस्थाः, अधो गच्छन्ति तामसाः। नान्यं गुणेभ्यः कर्तारं यदा द्रष्टानुपश्यति, गुणेभ्यश्च परं वेत्ति, मद्भावं सोऽधिगच्छति। गुणानेतानतीत्यत्रीन् देही देहसमुद्भवान्, जन्म मृत्युजरा दुःखैः विमुक्तो मृतमश्नुते। अर्जुन उवाच कैर्लिङ्गैस्त्रीन् गुणानेतान् अतीतो भवति प्रभो, किमाचारः कथं चैतान् त्रीन् गुणानतिवर्तते। श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रकाशं च प्रवृत्तिं च मोहमेव च पाण्डव, न द्वेष्टि सम्प्रवृत्तानि न निवृत्तानि काङ्क्षति। उदासीनवदासीनः गुणैर्यो न विचाल्यते, गुणा वर्तन्त इत्येव योऽवतिष्ठति नेङ्गते। समदुःखसुखस्वस्थः समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः, तुल्यप्रिया प्रियो धीरः, तुल्यनिन्दात्मसंस्तुतिः। मानापमानयोस्तुल्यः, तुल्यो मित्रारिपक्षयोः। सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी गुणातीतः स उच्यते। मां च यो व्यभिचारेण भक्तियोगेन सेवते, सगुणान् समतीत्यैतान् ब्रह्म भूयाय कल्पते ब्रह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठाहम् अमृतस्याव्ययस्य च शाश्वतस्य च धर्मस्य सुखस्यैकान्तिकस्य च
What are the marks of a person? What are the signs of a person? What are the indications of a person who has crossed the three gunas, who has realized the self? And he tells us immediately that he is not impressed when there are good things, and he is not dejected when there are bad. Whenever he sees the gunas function, I mean, whatever goes on, he said, guna vartante. The gunas are acting. The tamasic people will behave in a tamasic manner. The rajasic people behave in a rajasic manner. The sattvic people will behave in a sattvic manner. Guna vartante. The gunas are functioning. What else will happen? It's the most natural thing, isn't it? Now, if you stop and you think of that idea, you say, so what does it mean then if we meet the tamasic and the rajasic? Are we never to make any attempt to improve it, never to make any attempt to do something? If our somebody in our family is tamasic or rajasic, should we never do anything? This is an interesting question because most people take acceptance of current state as inaction. Acceptance of a current state only refers to understanding your starting point. Okay, so if he is tamasic, this is your starting point. And I think one of the best examples of this has to be the way Petruchio treated Katharina in Taming of the Shrew. I don't know if you all have seen the movie or not, but if you haven't, please see it. And if any volunteer wants to show the movie, then we can see it together and discuss it. But the way he deals with his errant wife is an excellent example of what you do with this concept. As you know the story, Catherine was a virago. She was a fighter cock. She was a completely spoiled child. She used to throw things and scratch people and hit people, and she was completely out of control. Now, the thing is that she was also very beautiful and also very rich. So many suitors came to her to marry her. But she was so horrible that they all ran away. Then the second sister, she had a second sister, that who was beautiful, obviously, rich, obviously, same family, and also much more mild mannered. So suitors came to her, and the story goes that she liked one of them, he liked her, and they wanted to get married. And the father says, no way, you're the younger daughter. You will marry after your older sister does. So now they are in a problem because they want to get married, and now nobody's going to marry this Catherine. So there's this Petruchio. Petruchio has told you marry her. He's okay, fine. He's okay with it. Yeah, she's beautiful, she's rich. ठीक है, मैं करता हूँ. Right, so he goes over there and she behaves just as obnoxiously with him as she does with everybody else. That's just her. Okay, she throws things, hits things, bites people, scratches them. She's like a cat. She really does that. I mean, most cats are better mannered than she was. So she'd scratch and bite and whatnot, and the other one was awful. So that would happen to people who went and meet her. Then, now Petruchio has to marry her. He has decided to marry. Now, how do you marry this lady? Is it possible? Is it within the realm of practical politics to get married to such a person? So, what he does is he arrives at the marriage sitting on a donkey in rags. Now, people just want Catherine to get married. That's all. Before she knows, before she can even see what is going on, they are just like, get her married. Iske ghar bhejo. Everybody is in a rush to get her married. And before she realizes what happens, she's gotten married. And then she said, then there's a wedding feast. He says, no, I cannot stay for the wedding feast. I have to go. And he starts rushing away. Now she is left high and dry, so she doesn't know what to do. So she goes with him. Because it's all very unusual for her, right? That somebody is just not considering her wishes at all. And he proclaims all this love for her and says, I have to go, it's this, that. So these two set off on that donkey of theirs. She obviously is much insulted because she's a rich girl. She expects some good treatment. She's much insulted, but now she's married to this maniac and she has to go. So she goes. And then he keeps telling her that the journey, he tells her that the sun is the moon is the sun. Nonsense. So nonsense he tells her. And he insists, he makes the situation such that she has to say, Baba, sun to sun, moon to moon. Because she's now alone with him and he looks mad to her, like he can do anything. Then they reach home and he's saying, and the servants have set a nice feast. He's not a poor man, he's also a rich man. He said, nice feast, and all of that. And then the Petruchio comes home. And obviously his staff is not as well trained as in Catherine's house, but he's fairly well off himself. And then he comes, he sees the feast. He said, what nonsense, for my new bride, you've got such horrible food. He pulls the tablecloth and all the food goes flying. She's saying, it's okay, I will eat it, don't worry. The first time in her life, she's like, oh my God, I'll eat it, don't worry, because this is all the food there is. And she has just had a very long journey with this mad fellow who tells her that the sun is the moon and the moon is the sun, and creating just general chaos, not let her drink water, not let her have any food, because he's like, I can't let my new bride eat all this rubbish on the road. So she's famished when she reaches. And as soon as they reach, he pulls that tablecloth, shouts at all the servants, like really scream, as madly as she treats hers, he treats his. She's like terrified and she's starving. And she's like, oh my God. But of course, she is Catherine. She is not going to submit so easily, right? So then they go into their room. She's starving. She's nothing, no water, no nothing. Go to the room now. So they've gone to the room. And she lies down on the bed. She thinks, okay, whatever, let me sleep at least. Or let me have some association with my husband. And he comes into the room. She's in anticipation. Young girl, she's in anticipation. So he comes into the room, he takes the blanket, the sheet, and all that, puts it on the floor, and goes to sleep. So she's like, what's going on here? Because had he approached her, you know what she would have done, right? She would have done the same thing. She had screamed and scratched and bitten him. He just lay on the floor and went to sleep and snored loudly. So she can't even sleep. Bichari. So basically, at the end of the play, she has become a perfect wife. And Bianca, her sister, who was such a good thing. Deepraj, please, when you get married, don't try all these stunts. Your wife may not be Catherine. Okay, be careful. Please don't miss the point over here now suddenly, because too many bachelors in the class. I get worried, what they learn. Bhavna, when you get married, don't behave like that. I'll teach this guy a lesson first. Don't do all this. Everywhere, these bachelors only are there in the class. So, you keep meeting Catherines. Vedanta, who's Vedanta wisdom? Omkar or...
Sorry, me, Bharat.
Oh, Bharat. You meet Catherines. Which Catherine can deal with you like that, Bharat? Anyway, you go and watch Taming of the Shrew nicely. So then, how, through the play, she converts from this very negative person to this most, there's the famous words where she says that we choose to something instead of honoring and obeying our husbands who do so much for us and all. Of course, the feminists go up and think, oh, I should be honor and obey them. Please get the point over here. This gentleman has married somebody in deep tamas. She's completely out of control. Right? Now, the only way he has to deal with this is understanding what is her state, understanding what is a possible potential, and then doing whatever it takes to take her there. So, when a man of realization, or a woman of realization, or a being of realization, because everybody is so woke nowadays that a man is not right, woman is not right, we have to account for everybody. So, any being of realization will understand the situation as it is. This is what it is. And from here now, we are going to work. If you don't get that, you will always be disappointed. This is what the situation is as it exists now. This is what I could possibly do to move this. Suppose I am in debt of 5,000 rupees. Then I have to think, what do I need to do that my debt becomes 4,000 rupees? When it becomes 4,000 rupees, I have progressed. Somebody else looking at me will say, oh my God, you have a debt of 4,000 rupees on you. I know I have progressed. And it doesn't matter what anyone else has to say. So each one of us has to understand what the scriptures are trying to communicate to us. If you meet a person who is of any particular nature, whatever they are, you cannot expect them to be something else. You cannot say, oh, these students in class, they are so negligent, they hardly study, they hardly do karma. You can't do that. You have to say, okay, these students are here. Now we move them up one stage. What is that one stage moving up? That is all we can do. And when you're doing it for others, please remember that it is more difficult than doing it for yourself. We think it's very easy to do it to others. Why? Because it's very simple. We tell them, they'll do it. Aise hota to Christ would have converted the world, Buddha would have converted the world, Krishna would have converted the world, Ram would have converted the world, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa would have converted the world. Hum sab ye wahi ke wahi rahe. How many great souls have come and gone? We are where we are. So it's not easy to change somebody. It's very tough. So it's better that we use that time and energy to change ourselves. Because at least there you have some amount of control. On others, you have even less control. And if you wish to control others, you have to be as controlled over yourself first. Because that's the only way you can control somebody else. Like if Petruchio had no control over himself, right? Suppose in his mind was, oh, I'm getting married and my wife will be so sweet to me and we will both have a cup of tea. He will find that cup of tea hitting his head one day. Because that's not the kind of person that he has married. So he must be willing to sacrifice his reputation. Right? He went there on a donkey in ragged clothes, don't forget, and made everybody think that this is a crazy guy. He was the only guy who was not crazy over there. And incidentally, in the play, Bianca, remember the sweet-mannered, beautiful sister, She doesn't listen to her husband. She is like, she's totally out of control. She's not hitting and scratching, but she is like, couldn't care less. And Catherine has become the perfect wife. So it's all about how you recognize the play of gunas here, now, today, and know that from here, where there is some possibility of reaching. If a person is eating only, I don't know what, frozen food every meal, in the US, they do that. They buy these, what they call these TV dinners, and then you just pop it into the microwave, and then your food is ready. Suppose a man is eating only that. Okay, for 25 years, he's eaten only that. How can you tell him stop eating this and start eating something else? How? Start cooking your food and making that whole thing, start a kitchen. Won't happen, right? At best, you can tell him, okay, with your TV dinner, you have maybe a salad or whatever is, or a fruit after, or something you can tell him, like little bit. That means that you recognize the current condition and you know what is one step higher or better than that. So when you say, when you read this, that, oh, you have to accept what the gunas are, it occurs to us that, oh, then should I not do anything? Should I let my children behave in whatever way they want, or my spouse behave in whatever way they want, or whatever it is, or my employees, or anything? It doesn't mean that. It means you recognize step one. Where are you now? And then think carefully, what do I need to do to go to step two, whatever that step two be. It's not a passive philosophy. Remember always, every time you think the Gita or Vedanta is telling you do nothing, remember that the central message of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna is
Fight.
get up and fight. That's the central message. So every time you feel, no, he's telling me not to do anything, say, oh, but he was telling Arjuna to do something. It's never about not doing anything. You always have to do. It is your responsibility to do. What to do, you need the knowledge. But it is your responsibility to do whatever you can, as much as you can. If you don't take care of the society you live in, who is supposed to? If you don't take care of the world you live in, who is supposed to? If we are not responsible for the planet, then who is? If we are not responsible for our country, then who is? If we are not responsible for our home, then who is? So that responsibility always rests with us. Sometimes we get myopic. We say, oh, my home is my responsibility. No, why? Are you not living in the country? Are you not living on this planet? How come only your home is your responsibility? Are you not enjoying the benefits of being on planet Earth? Are the oceans in your house? And if the oceans weren't there, you cannot survive. You could not have been born. So it's all our responsibility. But we have to figure out how best to execute that responsibility. This whole concept of Vastu. You heard of Vastu? It's the base concept is good. It's become largely superstitious nowadays, but the base concept is good. It comes from the word Vastu. Vastu means an object. The area in which that object lives is the Vastu, is the area. Right? So for me, this body is my Vastu, because I am the Vastu that lives in this Vastu. This body is the Vastu that lives in this room. This room is the Vastu that lives in the Vastu of this house, of this flat. The flat lives in the building, that's its Vastu. The building lives on the street is its Vastu. So where the Vastu lives, by simple Sanskrit, right, is the Vastu. So when we start taking care of the Vastu, we are only thinking of where's my house to be facing. ये पागल है क्या? What about the street? What about the city? What about the state? What about the nation? What about the planet? What happened to all these vastus? नहीं नहीं, वो मुझे देखना नहीं है, सिर्फ मेरा घर कहाँ होगा, उसका दरवाजा कहाँ होगा, क्या? Like that is important. What happened to the more important concept, which is where I am, where something is placed, is as important, right? I am placed on this planet, and then it becomes my responsibility to look after it. I'm placed in this country, it's my responsibility to look after it. But this whole thing of Vastu has become around my house. How is my house and my office and bus? यही देखना है. It's become a bit of a superstition, but the base concept is a very nice one. That all of us exist in something, and that whatever we are existing in needs our attention. So I hope this point is clear about him seeing everything as the way it is. It does not refer to us not doing anything about it. It refers to us
taking the next step, recognizing and taking-
Accepting the first step.
accepting that this is what it currently is, and here is where I'm going to take it. You cannot take a person who is lame and say, I want you to run the marathon like a normal person. Not possible. But yes, you can say, yes, this person is doesn't have feet. We can have what is this thing called?
Paraplegic.
Paralympic,
Prosthetics.
yeah, or whatever, Paralympics, or whatever these people do, that it's a very nice thing. They also get a chance to participate in sport, which is a wonderful thing. So, or maybe he can lift weights with his arms. I don't know. Something he can do, which he can do. You can't force a person who doesn't have legs to get up and run. It makes no sense. So similarly, if a person doesn't have sattva, how can you force him to do a sattvic action? It won't happen. It just won't happen. Right? So all it does is tells you your starting step and the possible potential. Prakash's iPhone. Did you say Vastu should not be seen while building a house? No, I did not say that. I am not offering any opinions here. If anybody wishes to, please go ahead. But the point is that our concept of Vastu has become a bit of a superstition. We are more concerned with things that are less important than concerned with things that are more important. So when a person of maturity, it may not even be all the way to realization. So when a person of maturity, any person of maturity, receives something means some effect comes to that person. He's okay with it because he recognizes that what I get is what I have done. I don't get anything other than that. So to whom joy and sorrow are the same, this whole thing is all the effects. Somebody praises him, someone censures him. He gets what is pleasant or gets what is unpleasant. It's the same. The same means it's not like, oh, you give him, you whack him with a stick or you garland him. He has the same feeling. It's not like he has the same feeling. Obviously, if he's whacked with a stick, it will hurt him. And if you garland him, he'll probably be more pleased with it. Nobody feels the same. It is that beyond that emotion which he will go through of pain and pleasure and good and bad and all these sort of things, there is a mature core in him that we refer to as the intellect that does not take hasty decisions based on whatever it is he or she is going through. He continues to be equanimous in the sense that his intellect is not affected by the random happenings. The random happenings are possible, right? If you haven't studied and you failed your test, you recognize, well, I didn't study, what else will happen? But sometimes there are random happenings, such as I studied very hard, but then COVID hit and then I couldn't give my exam. So both are possibilities, and he's okay with both. In the first case, he recognized that, okay, I didn't study, what else will happen? In the second case, well, things happen, please. In this world, don't things happen? What is there to make such a fuss about? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Things happen. Unexpected things happen. You have to be mentally and physically prepared for them. By physical preparation, I don't mean, you build your muscles. Of course, that's a good thing to do, but all other types of physical preparation, such as, that sudden serious expenses may come up anytime. So you have to have a buffer of capital, of cash available with you. I mean, not in the house, but at least in the bank, some buffer of, because anything can happen, right? The simple things. In the house, if you have staff, they will break stuff. Even if you did that work, you would break that stuff. So you have to have a certain amount kept every year, that this is for breakages in the house, because they are going to happen. Or anything can happen, right? So physically means financially, means doing your planning, meaning keeping buffer time when you're going somewhere. So my husband, who's very rude to me actually, when he tells me if I'm getting late for class or anything, you know what he says to me? He says, is it time yet for saying, oh my God, it's getting late? He's so mean to me, isn't he? So I don't know, is it time yet to say, oh my God, it's getting late? So mean. So, you recognize, you just understand things for what they are instead of getting all um, worked up for everything that happens. So a person who is mature, when an effect comes, verse 24 is all about effects. When an effect comes, he understands this is the result of what I did. So ठीक है, मैंने किया तो भुगत लो अब. Both ways. It's not just if something negative happens, even if something good happens. I don't know if you've ever noticed that if you worked extremely hard for something and that thing comes to you, you just take it in your stride. Because you're not surprised. You're not, whatever. Obviously this will come. What else will happen? And if you didn't do that hard work, well, obviously it won't come. You're okay. It's not you're okay. It's like you're not overly emotionally invested in that because you just see it as simple cause and effect. So if it comes to you, which is the result of what you did, then that is just a cause and effect. What else will happen? If it comes to you as a random thing, then you recognize random things happen. Don't random things happen? They happen. It's part of the system that random things will happen. And random things happening is an important aspect of our life, because only when random things happen do new things happen. So it's part of life, right? I don't know how life started on this planet, but at one point it was all organic matter. Inorganic matter. Yes, it was all inorganic matter. And then somehow it twitched into life. So something random has happened here, right? When genetic mutations take place. Suppose we were all apes at one time. Then how did those apes become a human? Some mutation took place, right? Some random mutation took place, some random thing happened, and then, well, Homo sapiens or any homo, whatever they were, started and they changed, and there was some random. So progress takes place like that. Everything is not predictable and it's not meant to be. So that's fine. Sometimes your wife will be on time, sometimes she will be late. It's not always predictable. You take it in your stride. It's any mature person will do that. So we think, oh my God, he is a realized soul. We are not realized. We have got, I don't know what, oh, we can't behave like him. He's realized. I don't understand this. Many people have this feeling. We can't behave like that because that person is realized, that person is grown, or that person is superior. What does that even mean? Every one of us at our level have to do the same things. Whether you're in second standard and you're organized about it, or you're in PhD and you're organized about it, in both cases you can be organized about it. No, you don't have to be disorganized because you're not spiritually developed. It doesn't make sense. So there's no such thing as, oh, wo unke liye hai. There's no such thing. The same principles across the board. At all levels, it will be the same knowledge. Bharat, by random, do you mean a cause which is not recognized? No, by random, you mean random. Whether there's a cause which is recognized, whether it is because of, can we make the statement that everything that happened because of a cause? Can we make the statement?
Why can't we make?
Think about it. What will happen if every single thing you attributed to a cause, like every single, there is no randomness at all. Now think about this very carefully. Cause always determines effect. Correct? Where are you, Bharat? Cause
Yes.
always determines effect, right? That effect becomes a cause, and that always determines its effect. Correct? That means, if you accept that stance, it is a philosophical theory known as predeterminism. That means everything in this universe was determined at the time of the Big Bang. Because everything has to be determined at the first cause only. The first cause is the first one that we know of. Because this cause has to lead to this. If this exists, it is itself a cause and therefore will lead to this. Therefore, from the beginning of time till the end of time, the whole thing has to be determined. So that's why you can't remove randomness. I mean, you can, but then you fall into determinism.
Okay. Does any of our texts explain this further?
In what sense do you mean? The concept of Purushartha, it doesn't say it in the words that I have just used, but without the concept of Purushartha, nothing can work, right? And Purushartha is random.
Okay. Thank you.
Asha, the concept of first cause in Vedanta is the only purpose of that first cause concept is to show that there cannot be a first cause. That concept cannot exist.
Yeah, Janki ji, that was what was meant. You asked what is the problem, that then we can't determine a first cause. Like there is no first cause.
No, but in both cases, there's no first cause. No? Whether random or otherwise, in both cases, you cannot determine the first cause.
Yes.
That is common under both conditions. There is a causeless cause. We can't say there is a causeless cause, but we can say that if it is true that all things come from a cause, then how can you say that there is a cause which was not caused? If it is true. That's the statement. In philosophy, you have to be very careful about your statements. You can't say anything. It is specific. You be very, very, very specific. Some statements, two statements may sound the same, but they're not the same, and you have to be very, very careful about this. Like a very common example is, people say God is within you, right? And they say Vedanta says God is within you. So tell me, how many of y'all agree that Vedanta says God is within you? Raise your hand, whoever thinks that this statement is correct. Yes, okay, Jayesh. Who else? Now, Jayashri has not. Yeah. Who is this? Mahesh says God is within you. Mahesh, you also think Vedanta says God is within you. Okay. And Kalyan says God is within you. Milan says God is within you. Vedanta, Surinder says God is within you. Vedanta never says that. Do you realize that? Vedanta stance is you are God. Vedanta stance is not that God is within you. Now, these two statements, you are God and God is within you, in our minds becomes the same. But when you become philosophical, you begin to tell the difference. When you're saying that the intellect is growing stronger, that means discrimination is growing stronger. That means you're able to tell the difference between X and Y, which earlier you could not tell the difference. That is what it means that discrimination is growing stronger, which is what we are trying to achieve. So, Kalyan, a butterfly flapping its wings somewhere causes a tsunami elsewhere. Kalyan, in that case, you are saying that there is a cause. The butterfly flapped its wings and there was a tsunami. Now, what are the complicated causes that led to that domino effect? We may not totally know, but you're saying there's a cause. Currently, we're saying that a certain degree of randomness is inherent in the system. It has to be inherent in the system. Otherwise, it'll all be predetermined. So then people go to the other extreme and say, oh, it's all random. No, it's not all random. That random must be, you can't say how often it will come because it's random, but it is just a streak somewhere. It's not like every day, like suppose now Bhavna, we are seeing her every day. Now, randomly, her genes won't mutate, and then suddenly next week we see her developing wings and flying away. Got bored in class, so she said, oh, and then she just flew away. Like, that can't happen, right? It's not that random.
No, this was a statement just to say that even in seemingly random things, there is a cause.
Yes, but we're denying that, no? We are accepting randomness. Why are we not accepting it? That's exactly what I said, Kalyan, that if you claim that by this thing there is a causality, then that cannot be correct. I hope you're getting why it cannot be correct. Because the moment you say this, what will be the automatic result of it?
That everything has a cause.
And therefore, what will be the result?
Determinism.
Determinism. Everything is predetermined.
Hmm.
That means everything about Kalyan has to be determined about him at his very birth. He had no choice whatsoever. Because everything is cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect.
Hmm.
And what now? Nothing. Philosophically, you can never get out of your vasanas because everything is causing something.
Yes.
So now
Correct.
that's one thing. Don't go to the other extreme and say it's all random because that's not true. It is all cause and effect with a certain streak of randomness within the system. It's part of the system. So that's what these guys say, these subatomic particles and all this. They're random. And they feel like they've said something very major in life. I mean, it is because science always says there's cause and effect. And now then they found random. So then now now there's no cause and effect. Now it's all random. It's not all random. About randomness is inherent in the system.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah, Deepraj?
Like all this talk about randomness is not really convincing. Like I still don't understand why we are claiming it's random. It looks like cause and effect only. Because I mean, even if the inorganic turned to organic, it's still there's a cause, right? There's some chemical reaction that happened. That's the cause,
Okay, so
right?
if you accept that, then what is the consequence of that thought? One of the most important things you learn when you are studying to think is, okay, I accept this thought. And if this thought is true, oh, your favorite, how do you falsify it? What's your way of falsifying this idea?
That it's not
Everything
that
is cause and effect according to you.
yeah.
So, what has to happen for you to prove that this is not so? How would you falsify it?
Um,
You can think about it later, but
yeah,
as
okay.
of now, what we are saying is that if everything is cause and effect, then everything is predetermined.
Yeah, but the thing is, what's the problem with determinism?
You have no choice. From that, the point of birth, whatever is going to happen in your life is determined.
Yes.
Then you
I
have
mean,
no agency.
I feel like I have choice, but how do I verify whether or not I actually have choice?
That you can sit and do your research, but the fact is that you understand that if I accept only cause and effect, that proves that insists on everything being predetermined. Then you can
Correct.
accept everything is predetermined. If you accept everything is predetermined philosophically, okay, they accept. You can never say anything to anybody, obviously. Then again, we come back to this,
Yeah.
right?
But that's the point we were discussing. That we cannot say anything to anybody because it's their gunas.
Yeah. So, but then now you practice, you do that. Because it's your theory. It does actually. This is a point you will reach in both theories. So you accept whichever one you want.
Okay, I'll think about it. Thank you.
Mahesh, is there randomness in nature besides Purushartha? Yeah, subatomic particles and all that, they're always claiming randomness. Prakash's iPhone. Dvaita Siddhanta is different. Dasa and Hari concept. You must be saying this with reference to something, but I don't know what it is. Yeah, there is Mamita. Yeah, there is no true or false if it is all cause and effect. What? Why would there be no true and false if it's all cause and effect? There's no correlation between these two things. In fact, how would you establish cause and effect if you cannot establish true and false? This is water. True, true. This is heat. True, true. Apply water to heat. Apply heat to water. The water boils. That's the only way you can apply causality is if you have true and false statements. Otherwise, how can you even apply it? So there's no connection between no true and false if it's all cause. In fact, it is true and false because so you say that's that favorite thing people have. No, it's my personal will. I can choose. Yes, of course you can choose. But that means you're denying true and false and cause and effect. The reason why choice becomes important or educated choice or enlightened choice becomes important is because there is cause and effect. So is it true what you're saying? I mean, is the law true? And is this the application of that particular law? That's the only way you will be able to tell cause and effect. Okay. Aditi, could it be that everything is cause and effect, but nobody understands the first cause and hence attributes some things to randomness? Yes, I mean, you and Deepraj all are willing to accept that, but please understand that if you accept it, then you also have to accept with it predeterminism. That means you have no agency of your own. That means, in terms of our thing, why are you doing spiritual sadhana? It's pointless.
Correct. I've accepted.
Okay, but then you don't say this in class. You accept it when wife whacks you one, when children do what they are doing, when boss does what he is doing.
No, I've accepted what you said, that
Okay.
it is not cause and effect, it's not predeterminism.
If it is cause and effect, then it is predeterminism, right?
Correct, correct. I've accepted that it is not, as you said.
Don't do ulta, say straight, because I don't know now what you have accepted, and I'm worried because people live their life based on what they understand in class. So, for all those who want to accept predeterminism, don't do it in class philosophically. Then in life, you have to do it. That means, what are you trying to put an effort towards any goal at all for? Because वो जो मिलना है वो मिल जाएगा और जो नहीं मिलना है वो नहीं मिलने वाला.
Janki, only
Right?
prarabdha vasanas, that means. I mean, if you talking about predetermination, then you should be having only prarabdha vasanas, right? Not purushartha or anything, if
Yes.
you believe in that.
Yeah. Purushartha has to go.
With randomness.
No.
No.
If you have randomness,
have.
then you can
Okay.
have Purushartha.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Sankiji, I don't understand why Purushartha comes into randomness. That will also have a cause, right? The Purushartha.
Think about it. Just think about these things very carefully. If you claim that Purushartha has a cause, then you are claiming that Purushartha is
Predetermined.
bound. You are bound to choose that. In which case, you've gone against the very definition. Purushartha means you're free. That is why, if you remember the characteristics of Purushartha, it cannot be influenced by anything. Forget cause. First listen, Aditi, then think.
Yeah, I'm listening very carefully, so I'm trying to.
Don't try to put it together. You remember the definition? It is free. Remember? Remember that it cannot be influenced by anything. It cannot be influenced by your vasanas. It cannot be influenced by anybody else's vasanas, including your teacher's vasanas. It cannot be influenced by your environment. That's why it's free. Otherwise, it's bound. The moment you give it something, it's bound.
Yes.
So this is, is a good thing that we're discussing this, because at least, so forget all this, whether you understood any of this stuff or not. But the important thing is the development of discrimination. That's what we have to get. So when we're talking about how Vedanta develops the intellect or develops discrimination, is your capacity to tell the difference between things. If you can't tell the difference, how can you do any analysis? एक ही बात. Okay. Deep. Oh, yeah, okay, no, you have the thing. Yeah. Deepraj, your hand is up. Is it the same thing?
Yes, no, it's I mean, it's related to this only.
Okay.
I mean, the person who has mumukshutva, because of that desire, he will be propelled towards the self and he will achieve self-realization. So even in this context of predeterminism, sadhana still comes into the picture because he is predetermined to do sadhana, he will do his sadhana and achieve realization. And the person who does not have mumukshutva, he will always be stuck here. So, I mean, you said if we deny randomness, why do sadhana? I mean, sadhana still comes in the picture.
Yeah, but you're not doing it. It's predetermined. You cannot pat yourself on the back that I am doing sadhana and you're not.
No, but the intellect is still putting in effort. I mean, it's not purushartha effort, but the intellect is putting in effort.
No, it's predetermined, right? That this effort will be put. And those people who poor things, they are condemned forever to hell. So there's no point telling anybody anything because वो बेचारे तो नरक में जाने ही वाले हैं. It just seems so not right, right? कि
Correct,
you have
correct.
been written a destiny to go to नरक ना कुछ करो नरक में ही पहुंचने वाले हो. I mean, you can take all these stances, but you must be able to see consequences of the stance you're taking.
I will have to think about it. Thank you.
Momita, true and false lose their traditional meaning as objective categories of reality and instead become mere effects of prior causes. I don't know how that is true, Momita. True and false don't lose their traditional meaning. In fact, they gain more of their traditional meaning as true and false. That means this is true and this is false. This is not what somebody says is true and somebody says it's false. In fact, if you remember, how do you know what you know? We had made that very distinct category of what is so and what is not so. Otherwise, this is what's happening. Na? Everybody has their own theories of what is so and what is not so. Is 2 and 2 4? I don't think so. I don't think so means what? We are in
but
fact
but my reasoning is fixed. It is a product of it is predetermined. So then how do I say that this is true or false? I'm not free to evaluate truth or falsity.
under
Because
which condition?
if it is all cause and effect, then I don't have the freedom to evaluate true and false. So there is no such thing as true and false if it is
Oh,
all
I
cause
see
and
what you
effect.
mean. If there is. Okay, so please add that very important statement because that's not the stance we're taking, right? So you have to say
No,
if there
I
is.
was in my earlier statement when I said if it is all cause and effect, then what are we even doing evaluating true and false?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
then our
That's fine.
reasoning has no sense.
Right. You're bound to see it in a particular way. Correct. That's correct. All right. Now we'll come back to this. So verse 24 was effects. Verse 25. मानापमानयोस्तुल्यः मित्रार्प्रतिपक्षियो मानापमानयोस्तुल्यः तुल्यमित्रारिपक्षयोः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी गुणातीतः स उच्यते मानापमानयोस्तुल्यः तुल्यमित्रारिपक्षयोः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी गुणातीतः स उच्यते. Now this is that was pertaining to effects, what came to him. This is pertaining to what is going on within him. Man, apaman, tulya. He's same in man and apaman. In mitra and ari. Ari is a enemy. Mitra is a friend. It's same. Sarvarambha Parityagi. Sarva Arambha Parityagi. This is usually interpreted to mean that he has stopped starting anything. That's so not true. Because a person who's saying this has just started a war. So don't please take it to mean that he doesn't do it. He doesn't have the sense of starting, which is a very different thing from not starting. It's like possessiveness is not about having or not having possessions, but about a sense of possessiveness. So, to Sarvarambha Parityagi does not refer to he has stopped starting things. It refers to he has no sense of starting, which is referring to his ego. कि मैंने किया, मैंने शुरू किया, मेरे कारण ये सब हो रहा है. He doesn't have that. He understands it's all part of this journey. So many people have done so much before him, and so many people will do so much after him. And he has one piece in that. He gets this, he gets the idea. So there's no egoistical arrogance to himself, ki I did this, I did that. Put my name here, put my name there. What is fame but slow decay? Even this will pass away. So that's it for today, and Bharat has an announcement for us.
Yes. Hari Om, everyone. Reminder, we will be having a new class starting 6th of March. It's going to be an in-person class on the second book in the Happiness series. So all those in Mumbai, please do look to join us. And the details have already been shared on the group. And these sessions will not be recorded. So we hope to see you in class. Thank you.
A lot of people have been talking about real world classes and all that. And, we've been offline for so long that maybe now we can try. And I'm saying try means